Today, we're going to dive into a pivotal moment in American history. It's a story of incredible bravery, but also profound tragedy, and it's known as the Uprising of the 20,000. But here's the thing. We're actually going to start at the end with a question that just hangs over this entire story. Could the deaths of 146 people in a truly horrific factory fire have been prevented? And the answer is, well, almost certainly yes. And that answer lies in the events of the year before the fire ever happened. So, to really understand the uprising, you have to go back. You have to see the absolutely abysmal conditions that sparked it in the first place. So let's step into the sweatshops of early 20th century New York. So, who was doing this work? Well, the garment industry's workforce was overwhelmingly young, female, and immigrant. I mean, look at this. About 70% were women. And get this, half of them were under the age of 20. They were a really vulnerable population, often brand new to the country and just desperate for any job they could find. And the work was just relentless. A normal week was 65 hours, but during the busy season, that could easily stretch to 75 hours. I mean, can you even imagine working those hours day in and day out? And for all that backbreaking work, the pay was pitiful. A woman just starting out as a so-called learner might only make about $3 a day. Now, compare that to the $7 to $12 that the mostly male operators were earning, a position, by the way, that many women were never even allowed to reach, no matter how skilled they got. But the exploitation went so much further than just low pay. This was a whole system of control. Workers were fined for being a minute late or for making a simple mistake on a garment. They had to buy their own needles, their own thread, even their own sewing machines. And then there's the most dangerous one, at the bottom of the list. At factories like the Triangle Shirtwaist Company, the owners would literally lock the doors from the outside, trapping everyone inside just to prevent them from taking breaks. So you can feel it, right? All this frustration was just simmering. It was basically a powder keg just waiting for a spark. And that spark finally came on the night a movement was born. Okay, picture this. It's November 22nd, 1909. A mass meeting is held at Cooper Union. For hours, you've got these male labor leaders giving these really cautious speeches, warning everyone about the dangers of a general strike. The energy in the room is just fading. But one young woman, a 23-year-old worker who had already been beaten on a picket line, was just losing her patience with all the talk. Her name was Clara Lemlich. She makes her way up to the stage, and speaking in Yiddish, she delivered the words that everyone in that room was waiting to hear. Her call to action was met with this massive, thunderous standing ovation. This was it. This was the spark. And the response was immediate and just overwhelming. Less than 2 days later, 15,000 workers walked off the job. And within just a few days, that number swelled to over 20,000. It became the largest strike by women in American history up to that point. And they were organized. Their demands were crystal clear and very specific. A 20% pay raise, a 52-hour work week, payment for overtime hours, and, this is the really critical one, improved safety conditions. Now, of course, the factory owners fought back hard with hired thugs and police arrests. But the strikers, they found help from a very, very unexpected place. And this formed one of the most unlikely and powerful alliances of the entire era. So on one side, you have the strikers, young, poor, immigrant women. And on the other, you have the Mink Brigade, these wealthy high society women like Anne Morgan and Alva Belmont. They literally joined the picket lines, and when these powerful women started getting arrested right alongside the workers, it became front-page news. That brought massive attention and, crucially, a lot of funding to their cause. This was a really pioneering example of cross-class solidarity, a tactic that's still used in activism today. So after months of struggle, the strike finally ended in February 1910 with a compromise. It was known as the Protocol of Peace. It was a major victory in so many ways, but it was a victory with a fatal flaw. Let's just break this down. For wages and hours, a clear success. Better pay, shorter hours. For union recognition, we'll call that a partial success. But, and this is the huge but, look at that last row. On safety conditions, it was a critical failure. The most powerful factory owners, including the guys at the Triangle Shirtwaist Company, flatly refused to make any concessions at all on improving safety. And that one critical failure, that refusal to budge, would cast a very dark shadow over everything the strikers had achieved. It led directly to a national tragedy. Just over a year after that strike ended, on March 25, 1911, a fire broke out at the Triangle's Shirtwaist factory. 146 workers died. They were trapped by the very conditions the strikers had fought so hard to change. Locked doors, flimsy fire escapes, a complete and total lack of safety measures. The owners' refusal to compromise during the strike had deadly and honestly predictable consequences. So the legacy of this uprising is really twofold, isn't it? On the one hand, it was a landmark victory. It proved that a female-led immigrant workforce could win big. It solidified their union as a powerhouse and even inspired the creation of International Women's Day. But it also serves as this horrific reminder of the deadly, deadly cost of an incomplete victory. And that really leaves us with a final thought. The fight for fair wages, reasonable hours, and safe working conditions, it didn't end in 1911. It makes you wonder, what battles for worker safety are still being fought today? And what lessons from the uprising of the 20,000 can we still learn from?